for watching Let's Talk Parenting. I'm Veronica Kasengo, Fruitful. I'm so happy that you've chosen to watch this. And if you haven't already subscribed, can I ask you to do so right now? Oh, thank you so much. And remember also to share this information, because the more you share, the more parents you and I are both going to be helping, because you just never know. This journey of raising children is not an easy one. I have two who are in their teens now, and I can share openly with you that the journey thus far has not been a smooth sailing one. So I'm so grateful to God for all the different tools and tips that I've learned over the years, which is why I'm doing this, because I want to share with you all that I've learned, and you get the chance to also share with me some of the things that you know on the comments below. So always remember to add a comment on whatever topic that I'm talking about that week. So I started talking about all the different things that influences the way that our children behave, and thus far I have shared that there are so many different things like environment. There are things like our parenting style, so the way that we choose to discipline our children can influence the way that they behave. I've also talked about family members, and I talked about culture. Did you know that every family has its own culture? We've all got our own way of doing things. Culture simply just means the way that we do things. So how I would run my house and bring up my children is not necessarily how you would do it, right? And it'll be the same for your relatives, it'll be the same for your neighbors. We're all very, very different. So may I suggest, if you haven't seen the one I talked about culture, then just go back and watch the one that says how influencing behavior part 2, which is about culture. Thank you so much. Today, however, I want to focus on talking about names, because believe it or not, even our names can influence our behavior. Okay, and if you think about, for example, the name of Moses, right? Most of us know the name Moses means drawn from water, because Moses from the Bible is a story about a man who, when he was a baby, his mother put him in a little basket and then put him in water in a river Nile. And then he was found by Pharaoh's daughter, who then adopted him and raised him as her own. What some people might not know is also the name Moses means deliverer. And if you read the story, Moses went on to become a great leader. He delivered the children of Israel from slavery, from bondage. And so you can see that his name definitely became what he was. So names are really important. If you take my name, for instance, my name Veronica, it means true image. It's Latin, and majority of Veronicas that I've come across, we have one character trait, and that is honesty. We're very honest people. What you see with us is what you get. I know my family members are right now going, yep, that's very, very true. Another example that I can give is the name Abraham. Abraham in the Bible, he was originally called Abram, so Abram. And then when God called him, his name got changed to Abraham. And the reason for that is because Abraham means, oh gosh, can't believe I forgot. Abraham means father of many nations. So his name originally was Abraham, Abram, and then it got changed to Abraham. I think God just added the ham at the top. If you read the story of Abraham, he later on had a child, and that child went on to have more children and more children and more children. So his name means father of many nations. Now, it goes to show how serious God takes names, because if he could have kept his name Abram, but he changed it. And even his wife Sarah, her name changed to from Sarai to Sarah with the H at the end. So names are very, very important. It's so important that in some cultures they have a naming ceremony. And I think that is just a brilliant idea, because if you think about names define us. Names is part of our identity, is part of who you are. So the name that you're given, the meaning of your name can become your character, can become a part of your personality. So names are really, really important. Let me tell you about one of my favorite stories in the Bible. It's actually the story of Jacob. I mentioned Abraham earlier. Well, Abraham went on to have a son called Isaac, and then Isaac had a son called Jacob. And Jacob was a twin. Jacob's name means supplanter, or the simplest translation for that is basically a thief, because from when he was in the womb, he was fighting with his twin brother. And then after they were born, when they reached a certain age, in Bible times, or probably still now as well, is the firstborn gets the blessing. So if you read the story of Jacob, Jacob ended up stealing his brother's birthright. Now, before you panic, if your child's name is Jacob, it doesn't mean that your child's going to end up becoming a thief. That is not what I'm trying to say. But it's just an example to say how names can follow us and become a part of our identity. I read somewhere how in the Jewish culture that names are so important that it's part of our soul. I don't know how true that is, but I can say that names are prophetic, because when you name a child, you are basically saying, this is who you are. Like when you think of a tree is called a tree because it's a tree, right? So when you give me a name, well, that name you're giving me is going to become a part of me. I'm going to pick up that as my identity. So names are very important. And we should be very careful the names that we call ourselves. And it reminds me of a story, an article that I read online. And when I was reading it, there was a quote in there that I really found fascinating that I'd like to share with us. So the quote said, "In life, you discover that people are called 3 names. One is the name the person is called by their parents. One is the name that people call them. My name always gets shortened to Ronnie, V, you name it. And the third is the name that you give yourself. The most important one of all is the name that we give ourselves. And that is so important because I don't know about you, but there's been times where I've not necessarily called myself nice names. You know, I might be calling myself stupid, or maybe my child might do something and I'm like, oh, you silly boy or silly girl. You know, there's been times where we may have called our children negative names. It's really important for us to be careful doing that, because our names kind of become a part of identity, and parents are so important in children's lives that what you say matters to them. And so if you called your child stupid or you call them dumb, they pick up on that and it becomes a part of all who they are. So names are really important, and we need to be very careful the names that we choose to give ourselves. So there's so much that I would like to share with us on names, but I'm running out of time. So what I will say is, you know, look up what the meaning of your name is, and remember that it's not so important, you know, if your name has a negative meaning, the original name that you were given from birth. But what's more important is the name that you choose to give yourself, because as people, we have the power within us to declare things. So even if your name has a negative meaning, you've got the power in your mouth. And as a parent, we also have power in our mouth to call things that be known as though they are. So you can declare positive things over your children. So instead of calling negative names, you know, especially when we're angry, let's just take a deep breath and just think about what's coming out of our mouths, because our words carry weight. Well, that's all I've got time for today. Remember to subscribe, share this information, and also connect with me on Twitter and also Instagram. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.